for a long, long time. We had a brilliant business going. I loved the business all along. I loved the customers were brilliant, and we had 40 or so really happy years in it. I have great memories of it, and it's a pity, but I don't intend pulling down the shutters on all the windows yet. There are still some opportunities. In the meantime, a lot of businesses are fading away from the town centre, and very shortly, if there isn't some kind of help and assistance given to standalone retailers, they're going to be a thing of the past, because it's heading that way. It was all about finance, really. You know, if the business was better, we would have been able to continue, but it was gradually in decline in the last couple of years. And you know, I put everything into it. As I said earlier, I had a huge amount of happy times here, and really loved coming into work every day until recent times, you know. No, I just blame myself. I don't blame anyone else. I have no recriminations at all, and I'm just glad for all the good times I had, and hopefully, you know, I will rise again.
Just, you know, all those answers you had for those women and men that come in and say, how do you plug in the X, or how do you fix a X, or do you know if a stain will come out with wine? Will you miss all those little things?
Yeah, well, I certainly, as anyone knows me well, I certainly was never talented at DIY or anything, but I certainly would be helpful, and I would always give advice. It mightn't always be the correct solution, but I always enjoyed interacting with the people and doing what I could. And I think even if you maybe shared the kind of thing with them, and they're nearly happy going. So we'd send them off anyway happy that they had the solution and that they had the thing worked out. Now, I'd still be awaiting the answers. But there were, yeah, I wouldn't miss all that, yeah, certainly.
Hello, my name is Anne Scully Casey. I'm originally from Portlaoise, born and reared here, and I'm sitting in our own backyard. It used to be Tom Scully's fruit and veg shop, and I've worked here for the last 6.5 years, and he had to close down just after Christmas. It's all gone, there's nobody left on the street now, and when the kids are gone out of this street, it's going to be dead, because the sound of those children out playing in the mornings, at lunchtime and in the evenings, and talking to them going in and out of school is absolutely wonderful, but it's going to go out of the town. So there'll be no children walking up and down the town will go completely dead, because they're all being moved out. Mothers and fathers will collect them at school and bring them straight home. There'll be no walking up and down the town, there'll be no kids going to the cinemas or going to the theatre, walking around the place. It'll going to be completely isolated. But this street is destroyed, like most of the streets on the town. This here itself, it's the end of an era for our family. Like, you're talking 3 generations in fruit and veg, totally gone. Tom he retired, but he's finding it difficult now to adjust to it, because he was always up 5 o'clock in the morning, out and about, down here doing his bits and bobs, and off to the country. And that's been going on in this street for 75 years at least.
But they were all such a lovely bunch of girls. There wasn't a bit of trouble from day one. Do you know, sometimes you'd meet now people and girls or boys, and there'd be always an odd one in it that you'd love to give a, you know what. But those, from the first time I met them in St. Mary's Hall, we got on great. And anything I said, or wanted them to do, they done it. And we used to have a bit of a laugh as well. It wasn't all serious, you know. I really enjoyed it, and I missed it after when it was all finished. Tell you the God's truth. But I'd love to have met some of the girls. That's the only thing I regretted about meeting Sister Ellen. It was great, and I loved the few hours we had together. Enjoyed every bit of it. But that's the only thing. If I have regrets, that's the one thing I have.
What was his name? Dick, was that?
Yeah,
Dick. He would train me in Grattan Street. There was a little laneway in Grattan Street, and there was a square off it. And he would train me there with this baton, and I'd have to fling it up in the air, whatever. No, it wasn't a big deal, really. You know, he was. You just listened to what you had to do, and you got on with it.
What I would love to have done, I'd love to have played the big drum. But the drum was nearly the size of me.
Yes, you
So
were
it
tiny.
was, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd love to have played the drum. But no, you can't play the drum. The influence that the music had on a lot of lives. I mean, I'd say if you did a survey to see how many of us are still involved in music, there's a huge amount of the band still to this day involved in different forms of music.
Yeah.
We just loved it. It was wonderful, but it was a wonderful outlet from the books as well, I'll have to say, because we weren't allowed out. You know, we didn't.
There was
you
no
wouldn't be
outlet
allowed
there.
downtown.
Portlaoise was
or,
awful.
but you weren't
It was
allowed out.
desperate. There wasn't even a swimming pool.
No.
There was nothing.
No.
You had your bicycle and you went to the library, and that
Yeah.
was my childhood. I read and
So,
cycled.
like the band was fantastic.
It was great
for
an outlet.
you know.
Yeah. It was something to do on a Saturday.
Yeah, and the marching, I loved learning how to march. Dick was a howl. You know, and he just kept, you did it, we could practice marching for an hour, so we could. In the cold and the wet, and we didn't care. And he kept that drilling and drilling and drilling us until we got it perfect.
I was given this fantastic job that, even though I was mortified about, it helped me an awful lot in life, because I became quite a confident person over the years, because I tried to do things that were hard to do, and I suppose it gave me that. Didn't he have a band of his own?
He was in the accordion band.
And I think he did something in the chorus. Trained some of the.
I don't know if he was involved in the military life. I don't
Jesus,
know.
it felt like it.
Yeah, we were the important ones, not the ones that were standing up on the stand.
Oh, no,
they
that
didn't
matter.
count.
No.
Even though we had to stand looking at them, but they didn't count. They didn't count. We didn't know who they were anyway.
We didn't know, no. It
So
didn't
it was
matter
all
who
one
they
to
were.
us. We
Like,
hadn't a clue.
we were the ones that were important.
We were the important
We were
ones.
playing the music.
And you got to remember, she wasn't with us.
Yeah. That's
So
right,
she had
honest.
given us instructions before we left.
Yeah.
That
And
she
you
didn't
just
want
did
any
what you were-
comeback nonsense or whatever to come back to her after all her hard work. And we could appreciate that, even though we were very young.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And we didn't carry on with any nonsense.
No.
On town or marching, wherever we were.
We did as we were told. We did it.
We did as we were told, and
Brilliant.
every word that Dick said
Yeah.
at the last practice or wherever it would have been, around the school or in the band Tyler St Mary's, it all clicked. It just clicked, and that was it.
So if you want to be able to remember what you saw, go and take a picture of Portlaoise as it is, of this old St. Peter's Cemetery, and you'll be able to take another picture and show your other colleagues in the school how the thing is changing. Also, he will be replacing the railings, as Michael said, on the Jacob family's tomb over there, doing them up, cleaning them up, and repainting and re-erecting them. So also you will notice that all the grass is not being cut here. We just want people like yourselves to come in and look and walk around, but the grass is being left there to encourage butterflies and bees, because if you keep cutting them down they'll have no food. So that's where the tidy towns are coming from. We will make this nice so that, please God, within a year or two you'll be able to come in here and look around. We'll have a couple of seats where people can just have a cup of coffee and chat, but the opening hours will be strictly controlled so that there's no... You can see where fellas threw in bottles, empty bottles and cartons in there. We want to make sure that doesn't happen again. And I'd like you, would you keep in touch with me on the Tidy Towns and ask any question, because I'd like you to let me have your thoughts on what we should be doing here.